Welcome to the Sportsman's Voice Roundup, your weekly look at conservation and sporting community news happening across the nation and on the Hill. Thanks for tuning in. This is the TSV Roundup. Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to a special post-election 2024 edition of the Sportsman's Voice podcast. We got a bit to cover here. Got some follow-up guests from last week as it concerns Florida's Amendment 2, Colorado's Prop 127. We're going to get to all of that in our Vice President of Policy, Brent Miller, in just a moment. But I do want to highlight the traditional EPUB Sportsman's Voice. As always, you can subscribe by going to congressionalsportsman.org. Put your email in there and get all the info every Monday or Tuesday at the holiday. So you can check out a couple articles here about red snapper management, access deer controlled in Hawaii, and hunters sharing the harvest. All good articles, but let's get to it on a few hours of sleep here. So if I sound slightly punchy, certainly no offense to the audience here, but it was a late night and we were tracking some very important sportsman-related issues in Florida and Colorado. Welcome in Vice President of Policy, Brent Miller. Brent, how are you this morning?
Hey, Fred, I'm doing great, and thanks for having me on this morning. And I think I'm in the same camp as you are. A couple extra cups of coffee would not be a bad thing this morning for those of us on the East Coast who stayed up pretty late watching what our friends in the West were doing last night.
Indeed. So let's get into what we know, and I can feel safe by. So the AP, according to the AP here, pretty quickly yesterday, and Florida being as efficient as it was with their complete state count, and then when the panhandle came through, we got a pretty quick yes on this and met the threshold. Now exceeded it. Right now it looks like AP is reporting 67.4% in favor of Florida's amendment to the right to hunt and fish. And as was explained last week, that will take effect immediately.
Yeah, Fred, really great result down there in Florida, and really nice to have that early win come in for us and build up some confidence for us on the evening. And I think the message was loud and clear there in Florida that the voters support the North American model of wildlife conservation. They support science-based fish and wildlife management, which includes regulated hunting and fishing. So it was really great to have that on the books early in the evening.
Florida becomes the 24th state in the country to have their constitution updated. As Mark Lance reported last week, this didn't take the typical route, as I understand it, in some states in the past, where it's a multi-year process. It seemed like the conditions were favorable to get this in a timely manner, especially as it sounds like going forward, the thresholds are going to be steeper. So the timing all seemed to line up on this. The groundwork started a handful of years ago, but really in earnest in 2023.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. And this is something that we've been working with partners on. Well, CSF has been working on the issue generally for over a decade and a half now, but specifically in Florida, it was a multi-year effort behind the scenes that resulted in some pretty quick action once we took it to the legislature and got a bill introduced. And CSF worked with our partners to get the language to a place where we felt comfortable with it, and that brought in a bunch of other support from other sectors of the sportsman's community, including their backing and their supporters as well, having a voice in that. And so, yeah, we're excited about it.
So you're looking at well over 10 million votes on this in totality, right? So we're looking roughly 7 million votes, according to AP, that came in favor of this 3-3 and going the other way. That's a pretty impressive number, all things considered with everything going on. And I say that because the language on the ballot was so straightforward. It didn't appear to get like some of these other initiatives or requests for funds in your local municipality. You got to get a card that's handed out to you explaining the measure. Like it is what it is, and you got to vote up or down on it. And I think the succinctness of that and that model that we have in that preferred language, we got 26 other states that could stand to borrow that and institute it, no?
Yeah, it's funny you hit on that, and I agree with you. And I think a lot of us on this side of the issue agree that the language is where it needs to be and is very succinct and straightforward. But It certainly didn't stop the opposition in their campaigns from trying to distort that and bring in some conspiracy theories about
Uh-huh.
what might happen if this passes. Even though we had the general counsel of the Fish and Wildlife Commission down there, the director out in front saying that those conspiracy theories were exactly that, and they wouldn't come to pass should this amendment be enacted.
Yeah, and just a quick recap. We did go over the fact or fiction or, dispelling those myths last week with Mark Lance and Travis out of all Florida there. And, one of the biggest ones that you hear when this comes up is, well, if it's in the Constitution, you have a right to hunt, fish, and trap for traditional methods. It's 24/7 kill fest. And it's just, that is complete hyperbole, it's scare tactics, and as we covered last week, it is the antithesis of what the sporting community and sound wildlife management, science-based wildlife management is there to do. Like we would run out of a resource if that was the case, and nobody wants that.
Yeah, that's exactly right, and that's why that language in that amendment, safeguarding regulated hunting and fishing by the respective powers that be, depending on the state, that changes in the language. But in this case, that's why we had the commission as one of the strongest supporters of this, because it was again another codification of their role in science-based management and dictating seasons and bag limits and giving them the authority to do so, which they already did have codified. That's just another layer for them.
Uh-huh. Um, so great. We're gonna have Mark on. We're gonna have Travis back on to talk about the in-state partnership there, and kind of it takes the community to stand this up. It's not one particular organization that gets this done, but I feel pretty confident in saying here on this program that CSF, uh, obviously in the very early stages of this, with conversations that were had by Chris Horton, as was highlighted last week, definitely led the effort here and helped support that and bringing those in-state partners together as well as our national partners and really leading the charge on this.
Yeah, and absolutely. We did have a very major role, but to your point, nobody operates in a vacuum in our space, and we had some very significant partners that also did help out the effort. And this particular campaign was a multifaceted campaign, and so you think about the early stages of building support and getting the bill in the legislature and modifying the language and getting it passed, and ultimately to a point where it could be on the ballot. Yeah, CSF was at the epicenter of that every step of the way. But we as an organization, as a C3, we're not really set up to mount multi-million-dollar
Mhm.
campaigns of public opinion. And so, we had a number of really strong partners that got involved and were with us right from the start, but really kind of took the reins as we got into that stage of the campaign and started driving some significant money into the PR efforts, which ultimately had us successful at the end of the day.
Which further highlights and is going to be a great segue as we head west to Colorado that as unified as a unified community with anglers, sports hunters, and all the different subsects of that and persuasions, when we come together, man, we can move some mountains here, and that happened in Florida. Now, saying that, let's transition over to Colorado, where we don't officially have. We're very optimistic. Reporting right now 72% in as we're recording this at 10 a.m. On November 6th. Uh, Roughly 55.5% voting this down. Prop 127, the banning of science-based wildlife management on mountain lions and bobcat management. I was texting with Barry Snell very late last night watching this. It kind of, what was interesting about this one, it was fast and furious to reporting, and then it kind of got hung up at like 62% reporting, and now waking up and we're another 10% in. What do we know? What can we glean from these, and talk about the effort there.
Yeah, well, again, I think, just hitting on it, it is not final yet, but we are extremely optimistic with where we're standing right now. And, my understanding of the votes that are still out there is that they're mostly coming in from some rural counties where we anticipate we will have this natural support for this issue, particularly after the wolf debacle that put wolves onto the landscape, and people are feeling the impacts of that from the last time we had wildlife management decisions being made at the ballot box. And so they're living with that every day in and day out. And so I think that we can expect some strong support from those rural counties. Not to say that there might not be some more urban ballots that are coming in, particularly some of the early votes that are still needing to be counted. But we feel confident at this point that, or at least extremely hopeful that the margins that we currently enjoy will hold.
Yeah, and should this get called at some point, hopefully today, um, it's where this language was so ambiguous as it pertained to trophy hunting and the cut and paste of insert your favorite critter. Um, should this continue to hold, that's super important for all the rest of the states. That now you have the precedent that this was shut down and further supports science-based wildlife management and yielding to the authority of the state agency and respecting, and they came out and said this is a terrible idea. So when they try this foolishness in other states where you can have ballot measures, and maybe you can speak to how many states actually have this, um, this is going to be a big help because it's not going away.
Yeah, exactly right. So there's 26 states that have an initiative or referendum process, Colorado being one of them. And we're seeing these issues pop up at the ballot, frankly, because they can't win in Congress.
Yeah.
We haven't had an anti-sportsman bill pass in Congress in, I think, a decade and a half at this point. And that's largely thanks to the Congressional Sportsmen's Caucus that we as an organization support. You'd say the same thing with the state level, and we had it in Colorado even on this issue. I mean, this started out as a state legislative issue, and they were in subcommittee, the proponents of this, and they thought that they were going to get a 4-0, clean sweep and, advance it into the full committee and then up to the floor. And we turned the tables on them, and they got 0-4 on our side. And so we squashed it in subcommittee. So they lost there, and then they had to drive the issue to the ballot and mount an emotional appeal to try to. But yeah, to your point, the sportsman's community really coalesced around this. I think there was a sense that this was kind of like the Alamo for us because you get something like this on the books, this pejorative term of trophy hunting, and designating certain species. That anytime you take one of these animals or harvest one of these animals, it's going to automatically be dubbed trophy hunting. Well, once that language is there, that becomes very easy to go back and modify. So you have mountain lions, bobcat, and elk, and bear, and whatever. So yeah, there was a sense that this was a line that we had to hold as a community, and I was very pleased to see everybody come together on it.
Yeah, and again, as it stands, this recording is happening in real time, that seems to be the trend. Um, okay, another great segue. So the other things we need to acknowledge here is that our state legislative sportsmen's caucuses, there's going to be some change. There's some excitement in that. We get to welcome in some new ideas, some fresh minds as we further strengthen our state legislative sportsmen's caucuses. Same thing on the Hill with the Congressional Sportsmen's Caucus and our governors as well. So there's always turnover after these elections, but maybe not so doom and gloom, but there's obviously some excitement there.
Yeah, and I think so. And as an organization, we are a 100% nonpartisan organization, and all of the caucuses that we support and work with are bipartisan in nature. And we're set up that way for a very specific purpose because in the world of politics, that pendulum does swing from side to side. And so while one side woke up extremely content with the results this morning, it's going to be those same people that, as you look for 8 or however many years down the road, we'll be sitting on the other side with some pretty somber faces. So we, as an organization, being positioned right in the middle, we work with both sides, and ultimately, it doesn't matter so much in terms of what party has control in the respective legislature, because our caucus and the issues that we work on should be at their core nonpartisan.
Exactly right. And yeah, as you highlighted, you got one side that's pretty fired up, and then there's another sad side. But as we continue to illustrate and storytell on this program and telling our story, um, here's that silver lining. If you're feeling sad today, I mean, these issues, our community, just by the nature of them, command everybody participate. The no matter what the letter is in front of your name, it really doesn't matter when it comes to this stuff. So again, we can continue to coalesce around these issues if we're honest brokers of the North American model, and we trust science. That is the best science available to us and the professionals, and that's I lack of a better phrase, it's just an easy buck to pass. We don't need to put the labels on it. We just need to come together and support each other.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, more to come here in Colorado, but Brent, thanks so much for your thoughts this morning. Um, clearing the cobwebs and coming on here. And again, we look forward to updating you on Colorado, however that shakes out. And we're going to tee up our other guests here in a moment. So again, thanks so much, Brent. Appreciate your perspective and your thoughts. And we'll talk to you real soon.
Well, thank you, Fred. Appreciate you having me on.
All right. All right. As promised, we're welcoming in Mark Lance. You heard him last week, told you all we'd have an update. And Mark's good day to be a sportsman in Florida.
Yeah, it's a great morning, especially those in Florida.
Yeah, it's well, we just had Brent on and discussed it at his level, but as boots on the ground, literally you there and working in the state, gosh, man, what a big deal and decisive victory too. I mean, met the threshold and then blew past it. Speaks to the effort, speaks to the collaboration of the in-state partnerships, and the leadership of CSF. Touch on that, if you will, and just how's the buzz this morning, man? Let's smile and toot some horns.
Yeah, there's a lot of positive buzz. Fred, as you mentioned, Amendment 2 passed last night at 67.4%, which, as you mentioned, blew that 60% threshold out of the water. There were 6 constitutional amendments on the ballot in Florida. Amendment 2 being the right to hunt and fish, and only 2 of those passed. And right to hunt and fish came in at 1.3% higher than the other constitutional amendment that passed. And that, I think, speaks to how conservation is a bipartisan issue. And it's something that both sides of the aisle can get behind. And there was a lot of misinformation that was spread on this right to hunt and fish constitutional amendment, and the facts prevail. It was a lot of hard work that went over the course of the past 2 years, and as Travis touched on even before that, laying the groundwork, coalescing partners, especially in state, to get behind this effort, getting the amendment language in the right place last year with HJR 1157, and really hitting the ground hard in 2024, and encouraging people to get out and vote, especially registered voters in Florida that hold hunting and fishing licenses, because this is important for them especially. So yeah, it's a good morning to be a sportsman in Florida. Florida is now the 24th state in our nation to have a constitutional right to hunt and fish amendment. They were the last holdout in the Southeast, so speaks to the cultural and economic importance of hunting and fishing down here.
Yeah, for sure. And I think you got 2 coats there on that state, and just the economic impact alone. And I think when people hear this, I think their minds typically go right to the bullet part of hook and bullet crowd, right? And think we're out there killing everything and shooting everything. But obviously, we dispelled that myth last week, and we kind of covered that. Um, but this whole other side of right to hunt and fish. You think of the on water recreating, the recreational fishing, everything that comes with that, having that codified now, it's still with the authority resting with the state, the agency there. I mean, nothing's changed there, but people making their livelihoods there on the waterways and even inland, that's pretty important, especially for a state that so much of their economy is derived from tourism.
Right, and Florida is known as the fishing capital of the world. So, you know, we like to say at CSF, the American System of Conservation Funding, the user pays public benefit structure, through license sales, tags, that thing too. But we also need to take into account, as you said, the economic impact at the state and local level when it comes to, folks making a living off this, the charter fishermen. Um, it This constitutional right to hunt and fish amendment that's passed now further protects that. That helps them, I'm sure, sleep a little better at night.
Our upcoming NAS summit in a couple of weeks. We're so close. I still think my brain's back in like September. I keep thinking this is like months off, and we're not. We're almost there. This is going to be a really awesome item to talk about, off on the sidebar conversations. Just just talking with friends in the space, talking with agency leadership that'll be in attendance, and really, Brent and I touched on this in our conversation. Here's the language, here's the model, and 26 other states that could pick this thing up. And again, we're gonna have Travis on, but touched on it last week. The language being so clear and so easily digestible, probably was not the case with those other. I know for a fact it wasn't with a couple of them specifically. It's not a daunting ask. It's like read it for what it is and vote yes on it. And we hoped that when they did. Or if you didn't like it, I mean, I guess it was easy spelled out that you could vote no and know what you're voting no to.
Yeah, and that was a big selling point too. And the Amendment 2 in Florida was one of the only proposed constitutional amendments in the country where the full amendment language was what was shown on the ballot, which is very, very rare, as we all know. So, like you said, people read it, they know exactly what they're voting for. Um, and yeah,
That's awesome, Mark. We don't have to bemoan it. It's a celebratory morning in Florida as far as our sporting community goes, and thank you for your leadership and working through all this and working with our staff and again all the partners in state, and we'll celebrate this one for a bit, and hopefully, again your wisdom now on this and having gone through this, you can help out the rest of the staff and start priority setting in the other states and being the example. Congratulations.
100%. Thank you for it. I appreciate it.
All right, buddy. We'll see you. We'll see you in Louisiana here in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, looking forward to
All
it.
right. All right, brother. Enjoy this one. We'll see you. All right, folks. Continuing our election post election day coverage. We welcome back Travis Thompson of All Florida. Got to have a good feeling, Travis.
67%, man. We did it.
Yeah, for sure. Huge lift. We had earlier on. Mark got his comments. Brent Miller, our vice president of policy, kind of talking at it at a 40,000 foot view. But the way you guys went about it, kind of current day set the standard and really make this available going forward to the other 26 states in the country that lack such provision in their constitutions, their state constitutions.
Listen, this was a total team effort. We talked about this a little bit the other day. It was a total team effort. CSF, obviously, you guys, I want to give a shout out back to John Coldplacer, who's since moved to a different department, but John early on was instrumental. But also, I'd be remiss if I didn't say, like, the International Order of T. Roosevelt put this on their back and just, like, carried this through with us. And when you look across the board, it's hard to start naming names because so many people played such a part in this, and it took every brick, it took every little ripple to get it over the finish line. But man, Luke Hilgeman and Kevin Corrigan, those guys at IOTR were just like champions on this over and over and over again. And here we are. Something that, 5 years ago, I remember talking to Chris Horton from CSF on a call, and he said, "Do you have a right to fish and hunt?" And I said, "We have statutory." And he's like, "And that's not what you want." And here we are 5 years later. And honestly, 22 months, I think, from the day we sat down with the legislator to today. And we have a constitutional right to fish and hunt in my state that's going to protect it forever. And I couldn't be more over the moon. It's surreal.
Yeah, it's awesome. And man, I wish we had it where I live. and we're certainly going to work to make that happen using what you guys did as the current day example. Talk about the effort, the get out the vote effort. I mean, anecdotally watching socially, plenty of the yard signs on there, but really standing up the community in Florida. And then I got to imagine there was some engagement of that coveted 80% we're always talking about in our community, that we're either looking for their support or remain indifferent. And with the 67% plus blowing past that 60% threshold, probably quartered a bunch of them.
Yeah, I don't know what our low propensity voter turnout was. I haven't looked at numbers today, but it definitely felt like that was a real thing. People that did not hunt, did not fish. Quick side note: I have a good friend, who he runs some duck hunts with us and everything else. He registered for the first time in his life He registered to vote so he could vote yes on Amendment 2.
That's awesome.
So that's a anecdotal one-off. He could have been the only one in the state, but I don't think that's the case. I think there were a lot
Sure.
of people that said, I care about this issue. I care about conservation. And I care about protecting this for my kids, my stepkids, my grandkids, kids I may have one day. And God, the turnout, the vote effort, first, just from a campaign standpoint, it was incredible, but also like working with influencers, like from everybody, like a big name influencer, like a Black Tip H, like Josh Jorgensen, to Kelly Young, who's one that was super. Kelly Young and Cheyenne Lieberson are two ladies that in Florida helped us out tremendously. Just it's like the pounding it over and over and over again. Like the posts that get 100 likes, the posts that get 500 likes, like not just the million view things. It's the day in, day out consistency of putting this in front of people. And then, we just kept pounding the rock as far as from an NGO standpoint, like you guys did some stuff, but going back to like July, August, we consistently tried to put out facts, data, rebuttals, op-eds. Like it wasn't just one spurt. We kind of tried to have a long sustained push on that stuff. And again, to have partners like IOTR out there that were willing to just, step up over and over again with that. You want to collaborate on a post, CSF, IOTR, ASA, whoever it was, like everybody got in together and said, okay, let's do this. Let's get it over the finish line. And I couldn't be prouder. I'm a team guy. This was a team win.
Yeah, for sure. And at nearly 7 million votes in favor of the amendment, amazing lift. And that's been the running theme around this particular topic for our program today is it does take the community to stand up and support all of us. Yeah, it's as simple as that. And then obviously way more, I think, of our community, the economic impacts, the ecotourism impacts that this will have a positive effect on for in perpetuity, is just astounding. And I was really impressed. You look back at elections in Florida all the way back to 2000 and the nightmare scenario that played out there, and come to present day, and man, we had this thing locked up. Your election after the Panhandle came in, I mean, it was so efficient, and gotta love the way Florida knocked it out and very efficiently got the information out to the people, and more importantly, the residents of.
Yeah, if you look at that up and down the ballot, like returns were coming in lightning. I mean, say it was 7:15 when we started seeing the first counties report in, 7:12, something like that was when we started seeing the first counties report in. And by the 8:30, 8:40, we had, because Florida's in two time zones for those that don't know, we have a split, we're a split state. We have two time zones. So even though our polls closed at 7, the Western Panhandle of Florida don't close till 8 Eastern. So really cool to see that. Really proud of how the state did it, how the state handled it. Like, it's really clean. I didn't hear much in the way of, I mean, you always hear something, so-and-so didn't do this, or this county's having that issue. But I didn't hear anything that was major, and it was only smoke what I heard about. Everything seemed like it was done in a really good, really efficient manner. Proud to be a Floridian today.
No doubt, and a bipartisan effort for sure, and that's what our issues are. And certainly at CSF, we celebrate that. That's who we are. And that's how we engage and really get things done. So congratulations to you guys, Travis, the partnership, the leadership, and we're going to take the next day or two to celebrate, and certainly going into the seasons, rest assured, you Sportsmen in Florida, you're going to be able to keep going with it no matter what. So congrats.
There's no break, man. We got to start working on the next thing right now. So let's get going, and then we got to go hunt something, right?
Exactly right. Congratulations,
Thanks for having us on,
Travis.
Fred.
Yep, you bet. Thanks for your time.
All right.
All right, our coverage of Election Day 2024 continues. As we head to Colorado, we welcome back in Barry Snell, who gives us an update on Proposition 127. Barry, welcome in.
Thank you for having me back, Fred. Appreciate it, especially on such an auspicious day.
Indeed. Well, we just wrapped up our coverage of Florida celebrating Amendment 2 passing, so Floridians will now have the right to hunt and fish in perpetuity. I don't know if we can officially say, but we are optimistic Colorado will vote down Prop 127. Uh, AP is reporting that's happened. We're not taking that just yet. If you're on the socials, this episode will probably come out just after lunch. So if you've been on there this morning or mid morning, a lot of people tooting the horn, which is great. I think we all have that feeling we're trending that way, but officially we're not there just yet.
Right. So the Colorado Secretary of State will not certify the results for 30 days. So we're not going to have an official breakdown of wins and losses for a month yet. However, in addition to the AP, as you noted, Nine News and CBS have declared it in our favor, and our campaign manager has declared it as well. Uh,
Fantastic.
so Colorado is a mail-in state. 100% of eligible voters are given mail-in ballots in Colorado, and they are one of the distinguishing characteristics of Colorado is that they are a state that is received by rather than postmarked by. So we know for a fact that all of the ballots are in. The Secretary of State has them. We know that the vote count is down. Voter participation is actually down considerably from where we expected it to be. So apparently, Harris and Trump did not drive turnout very well in Colorado. So given the numbers, given the fact that all the ballots are in, and given the lower voter turnout numbers, there is pretty much a mathematical improbability that we're going to lose. Not with the near $300,000 300,000 vote gap that we have built up.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Maybe a little bit more than that, according to what I'm looking at. So that's man, I I I feel like I can breathe a sigh of relief. I think we all can at this point. And I'll be honest with you. Going into last night, and even in the wee hours, 3 o'clock this morning Eastern, when I finally made my way to my bed, um, knew pretty early on Florida's got a great system and probably one of the envies of the country and how they report and get their elections buttoned up. Um, this one felt good, but again, not 100%. You and I were going back late into the evening, where we thought we were going. What we covered the ground game out there last week and a few times with you and Dan Gates coming on the program and talking about the coalitions and all the in-state groups and especially the Legislative Sportsmen's Caucus driving this effort in the last home stretch here. The Colorado Fish and Game Agency. Forgive me, I forget what they're called. Parks and Wildlife. Is that okay?
CPW, yeah,
There we
Parks and
go.
Wildlife.
They came out against it. So many different authorities on wildlife management came out against this. I know we were concerned about Denver. What do you think happened there? That's the first question, and then subsequent question: the local fur ban that was at play there. Can you give us an update there? But first, take us through Denver and what happened there.
Yeah, so actually the answer is intertwined on
Okay,
that.
great.
So let me go backwards. Actually, I'll answer the ordinance issue first and work back into it. The ordinance is 308 and 309, which were the fur ban and the slaughterhouse ban in Denver City and Denver County. Those were soundly defeated as well.
All
So
right, great.
yeah, so we expected that, but it was a bit of a drubbing. So we're pretty happy to see that, which kind of goes towards the attitudes of that urban I-25 corridor between Fort Collins and Colorado Springs that we were very concerned about. Uh, Clearly, the people have spoken. They agree that scientific wildlife management is the way to go, that we need to leave wildlife management in the hands of the professionals. And you know, the urban people, when given the argument and the facts, they sided with us on this because we're right. It makes sense, and the vote has borne that out.
Well, I again, I know we don't have the official word, but I feel fairly confident in my congratulations to you
Thank
on
you.
the ground there, to our legislative sportsman's caucus leadership and members and everybody involved. Certainly Dan's organization there, Coloradans for Responsible Wildlife Management, and so many others that were all over this. Great partners of CSF, but you know, no doubt CSF major role, major part to play in this presumed victory.
Yeah, absolutely. The what has happened wasn't simply a victory on this particular issue. I think it's worth reflecting upon the fact that the wildlife conservation organizations at large, a lot of our in-state partners, a lot of our national partners, the NGOs and so forth, we all came together in a way on this that is relatively unprecedented. We had the elk folks and we had the duck folks and we had all kinds of organizations that had no stake in whether or not mountain lion hunting was banned. They came together, they rallied around the flag, and we all worked together. On top of that, we formed relations with the agricultural community that has never been done before as well. So we're working with the Cattlemen's Association, the Farm Bureau, and so on, and have established some relationships that are brand new because we're all seeing that we have a lot of overlap in our issues. And we're very confident that that's going to bear fruit going forward. Um, the anti's social media right now is chaos. If anybody wants to have a good time, go go look up some of the Instagram and Twitter feeds for those folks. They've conceded defeat. They know they lost this as well. Um, the messaging again. I don't mean to beat that dead horse, but our campaign manager Mark Truax and Dan Gates were spot on with their strategy on this to make this all about scientific wildlife management. And again, when the people were given that argument, when they were given the facts, they're like, "Yeah, that makes sense," and they voted our way.
Just like I said earlier in the program, it's a super easy buck to pass.
Yeah,
And why wouldn't you? The science is the science as we have it, and that's what we're relying on. And that seems to be the standard across many different topics. So why not here? And this one, I believe, is far more provable and tangible. So yeah, otherwise you're just being an obstructionist if for the well, let's see here. The you know, 1 million and so folks that tried their hand at this.
yeah, nearly 1.5 million folks who sided with us on this. That is, boy, if that doesn't send a message, I don't know what does.
Well, great reporting, great job. I guess in 30 days we'll look to make it official, but for now, way to go. We'll take it. And, we stand ready for the next fight because it's not going anywhere. I think Brent earlier said there's 20 some odd states that have the ability to do the ballot box biology. So, this could be a rinse and repeat somewhere else where they're going to try their hand at it. And, we stand ready. And here's the strategy. Here's the approved model, I guess, for now until it doesn't work. But I suspect it will with
Yeah,
reasonable
absolutely.
citizenry. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. To everybody listening to this, this was I think of what a few weeks ago when I was on here, I described this as the Alamo. Like if we won or lost, this was going to determine our future in those states that have the ballot initiatives, and even in states that don't. This is bound to come up legislatively. So it was of great importance to us going into this that we knew that if we beat this, that would set the tone nationwide, and we're very excited about that. So, it seems like maybe this is a hyper local thing, though. Oh, this is just Colorado. I'm in a different state. I don't care. No, this has national importance, and we're going to feel the reverberations of this for many years to come. This is going to diminish the anti's ability to fundraise. This is going to diminish their morale. This is going to diminish their interest in pursuing this in other states as well. I mean, this just has down the board repercussions that we are going to enjoy and push to our advantage going forward.
Yeah, as we should. Again, congratulations. Well done. Do give my best to Dan and all your other partners there who had the yoke around their shoulders for a long time bearing the weight of this. So well done.
Absolutely. Yep. Thank you, sir. You have a good day.
All right, brother. See ya. All right. Thanks to all the guests for coming on. Again, two great points to celebrate here. The entire sporting community needs to take some victory laps here and celebrate. The fight's not over. We will experience stuff like this again. And as a good example here in Colorado, if this stuff starts cropping up, you hope, you believe at this point now that you would see the same effort, the same national effort to come into any state where any threats like this rear their heads and use Colorado as the baseline response standard and deploy it when necessary. And certainly, unfortunately, it likely will be. Great work in Florida. I can't wait in the coming years to see more states do what Florida just did and tick towards a full 50 states having their citizenry, giving the citizenry a right to hunt and fish in perpetuity. And yeah, man, that's late night and some important issues for our community. I think, again, got to highlight it. Done in a bipartisan way, despite the rest of the ballots, despite the bulk of the election coverage. We can sit here on November 6th and know that both issues in Colorado championed by folks on both sides of the aisle. And that's the continuity in our space. That's the running theme, and we'll continue to fly that flag here at CSF and all our future work. That's it. That's it for this week's show. We got a feature show coming up tomorrow. Stand by for it. It's our wine, wheels, and wildlife recap, and then we're getting back into regularly scheduled program along with the rest of the country. Take a breath, and we got our NAS Summit coming up, and then some other great stuff. And then, heck, we're on to the holiday season and end of the year, and we're going to do it all again. Thanks for everyone who rose to the occasion in state and out of state for their support, for your support, and using CSF as a resource and putting our messaging out as well in support of Florida and Colorado. All right, until tomorrow on the feature, until next week when we get back to the regular roundup covering all the news from around the nation, we will see you real soon. As always, CSF is your inside connection to outdoor legislation. See you soon. Bye. Thanks for joining us on this edition of the Sportsman's Voice podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, your support is crucial, and you can help us out right now by leaving a review, filling in those 5 stars where available, sharing this episode with friends and family, and engaging with us socially. CSF can be found on Facebook, Instagram, and X, formerly known as Twitter. Together, we can protect the outdoor sports we love and continue to keep you informed wherever you are. That's it for this week. Until next time, we'll see you later.